On Press Perspective today, we take a look at the foreign media's latest coverage of public sentiment, local politics, and the government's response to U.S. tariffs. Do stay with us. Hello and welcome. It's Friday, April 11th, and you're watching Press Perspective. Today, we touch upon a host of issues here on the local front as reported by the foreign media, including public sentiment and election preparations, all amid U.S. tariffs. For more on this, I have Yang Chien-Hao, a freelance journalist from Taiwan based here in Seoul. Chien-Hao, it's been a while. Welcome back.
Hello, long time no see.
I also have Chloe Borgnon with French broadcaster France 24 here in the studio. Chloe, it's great to have you here.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Right, Chien-Hao, we will start with you. So public rallies leading up to the Constitutional Court's rulings were intense, to say the least. What's the latest on that front in recent days? Are we seeing any more of such rallies?
Yes, after being impeached and removed from the office, Mr. Yoon Suk-yeol will move out the presidential residence today. I believe right now, as we are running for the live broadcasting in the studio, the move out is also ongoing from 5 p.m. So Mr. Yoon will be back to the apartment in Seoul district. And also we have rallies today in Seoul. In the morning, in Hannam-dong, which the presidential residence located, there was rally of pro-Yoon Suk-yeol and another anti-Yoon Suk-yeol rally, which argues that those responsible for inciting and assisting the insurrection should be thoroughly dealt with. Those people are going to have another rally near Gyeongbok Palace in the evening later. And so, yes, you can see the impeachment has already done, but the political divisions from the civil society still exist. And also, we have seen that there are people announcing that they are going to run for the presidential election in both the ruling People Power Party and the opposition Democratic Party. For the Democratic Party, like Lee Jae-myung, who just stepped down from the party leader, he has already leading in various polls. And also the current Gyeonggi province governor, Kim Dong-yeon, has announced that he would join the competition. And meanwhile, in the People Power Party, there are National Assembly members like An Chol-soo and the Minister of Employment and Labor, Kim Eun-soo, and also the former party leader, Han Dong-soo. They are all announced that they would run for the president, and we are expecting that there will be additional 3 candidates declare their bids next week. And both parties, they're all required to hold the primary elections to nominate a single candidate. So the competition has already begun now.
Right, and I believe you were talking about Han Dong-hoon earlier on.
Oh,
right?
yeah, Han Dong-hoon, sorry.
Right, and also according to our producer, the impeached president has arrived at his private residence. Chloe, I believe South Korea's political polarization continues to make international headlines. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, so as we just spoke about, that's one of the points that's been interesting the most, I would say, the international news, was the deep division of the society that have been appearing. So it's nothing new, even if we're still reporting on it now, but we've seen it since the beginning of December, so since martial law. We saw that that short-lived martial law has been bringing in some political uncertainty, and a very strong, deep division in the society have been put under the light. So even I saw it when we started doing the coverage. So at first, on December, you would mostly see in the street people were angered with the decision of Yoon Suk-yeol to impose the martial law. And then his supporters, more like right-wing supporters, have been getting more and more vocal. And as we just explained now, like Chien-Hao just explained, now we have most of the time 2 types of protest in the same place, just 100 meters away from each other, for pro and anti-impeachment, pro and anti-Yoon Suk-yeol. So we are seeing the divide, and this is something that's still really put on the cover by the international news. So, for example, BBC just wrote an article right after the verdict of the Constitutional Court that was titled "South Korea's President is Out, but he left behind a polarized country." And I would say that most of the international coverage is going to be focusing more on the presidential election and the campaign that's going to slowly start building up. And there might be a specific focus on who are the candidates that are going to be put forward by both parties, and especially who would be the candidate for the people per party and which stance they're going to take regarding Yoon Suk-yeol's decision and martial law.
Right, indeed. Chien-Hao, contrary to earlier concerns, there have been no rampant violent displays of public discontent over the latest political developments. What have you been observing?
I think it is because all of the 8 constitutional justices have decided to vote in favor of impeaching President Yoon, which is totally different from those Yoon's supporters and those members from the People's Power Party, as many of them, they believe that it will be rejected in maybe like 4-4 or 5-3 votes. And as you know, these 8 these judges, they are also being categorized into like different stances, as 3 of them are like progressive and another 5 as neutral or a little bit more close to conservative. And so in this case, all of them vote for the impeachment, which indicates that an unanimous agreement among all stances. I think many Yoon's supporters might feel a bit surprised or even shocked when hearing the results comes out. And so we could see that after the verdict, the crowd of the Yoon Suk-yeol, the rally, their supporters just suddenly thinned out very quickly. But till now, you can see that former President Yoon, he hasn't issued any apology to the public, even hasn't made any statement saying that, oh, I accept the verdict, I accept the result. And meanwhile, he's sending messages to his supporters saying that he's very grateful for the support and will always be with them. So I think these words, these sentences, these messages will still play a very big role on sparking sympathy among his supporters, making them willing to go on the streets, having protest again. As we can see these several days, there are indeed supporters holding the placard saying Yoon again or Reset Korea.
Right. So just to clarify, Chien-Hao, you do believe that the unanimous decision by the Constitutional Court to uphold the impeachment served to ward off radical public behavior then?
Right.
Because they showed a sense of unity.
Yes.
Right. Chloe, there are mounting concerns here in South Korea ahead of the early election that you mentioned regarding the potential spread of disinformation, malinformation, and so forth. Do you share these concerns? And if that is the case, Chloe, what efforts can we expect to combat such information?
So yeah, I would say I do share the concerns, even though I would say that for me, disinformation is probably everywhere in the world now. In Europe, we had the same problem in France with the presidential election as well. So I do feel a bit pessimistic on the subject. Here in Korea, what's been specific recently is the rise in power of political YouTubers. So on both sides, we've seen political commentators and people who are discussing the news on a political field and with very strong stance on both sides, so and on YouTube. And they have been getting stronger with the crisis. So when you were talking with people in the protest, especially I would say more likely in the pro-Yoon anti-impeachment protest, a lot of people, when you were asking to them, or they will get their information, they will tell you through YouTube. And the problem with that is that those YouTubers are not hiding the fact that they are making a us versus legacy media's stance. So there is an idea, and that's also true in Europe and the US, but I do feel here it's maybe a bit more recent news. So I would say what we can do now is that medias do have a responsibility to be trustworthy, to kind of keep the truth and the trust of the public. But there's also another things to be done is to debunk fake news. But that's really hard. I know French medias have been trying to do that in the latest presidential campaigns. And what they are saying is you need time, you need money, you need a big team to do it, while fake news can be made up on the spot within minutes. So it's kind of hard to fight against it, but it's kind of important as well. And I would say here in Korea, there are some moves that have already been done to kind of fight it, especially on deepfake videos, because I remember I was not there on the last presidential election, but on the legislative election, there were already some deepfake videos that were made up with using the face and the voice of some politicians and making fake videos and saying that to the public, this person is saying that, which is not true. And I mean, the election watchdog is quite careful with this kind of videos, and they are fighting against them, which is already a good point. Now there's still, malinformation to fight, and this is going to be a very hard part.
Right. It's, as you mentioned, a universal fight, so it remains a very big problem, of course, to deal with. Chien-Hao, the presidential race, as Chloe mentioned, it's been covered by the foreign media very quickly. What messages, Chien-Hao, do you suppose from the presidential hopefuls regarding their policies would be of interest to the international media?
It will definitely be how they respond to the diplomatic relations and the international issues. For example, for foreign media, many journalists will ask the candidates about their preferences or views toward like North Korea, on the United States, on China and Taiwan and Japan. And more detailed issues include how the candidates' team will deal with, for example, President Trump's, as the United States tariff policy is sending shockwaves around the world recently. And another hot issue will be that if Taiwan is being invaded by China, and will the new president approve or even assist the United States force in Korea being sent to Taiwan? And also we can see that among the current candidates, like President Lee Jae-myung from the Democratic Party, he has shown a bit more like pro-North Korea or pro-China, a more friendly stance to these two countries. Meanwhile, the People Power Party, though many members running for the presidents, we still need to figure out more. But as now we think that either Kim Moon-soo or Han Dong-hoon will be very likely follow the route which former President Yoon Suk-yeol had set up, like pro-America and a more stronger stance to North Korea and China. But for like Ahn Cheol-soo, since he's not originally from the conservative, and also his like political attitude and stance has shifted for several times, we still need to see and even directly ask him more questions and make it revealed more clearly in the future.
Right. At the moment, though, these are all speculations, of course, right? From our part. Chloe, what message from the presidential hopefuls would be of interest to Europe, do you think?
So I would say the main point, but I do think it will not be discussed in the campaign because it's such a short amount of time, would be the stance on Ukraine. Because as you remember, we saw a bit of both sides' position when the North Korean soldiers were sent by North Korea to Russia to help in the fight. And at that time, the People Power Party was speaking about maybe sending lethal weapons, because as of now, South Korea is only sending non-lethal help, so humanitarian help to Ukraine. And there was a question of sending lethal weapons or sending also some South Korean soldiers just to kind of help with trying to make North Korean people defect. So that was the point of the People Power Party. On the other side, the Democratic Party at the time was really strongly against any lethal weapons, any help on that side. Sending troops as well was out of the question. So I would say that would be one point that would be of interest for Europe, because at the moment, with the US trying to get more on the good side of Russia, I would say Ukraine and Europe are going to feel a bit alone on that side, and they will need any help they can from any other countries. So if South Korea was to kind of withdraw a bit further away from the matter, it could be a bit of a hard blow for Ukraine at the moment. The other thing, obviously, as Chien-Hao said, it would be also the position regarding the US, because with Donald Trump policies and America First stance, everything is a bit hard to guess for every country, and I feel like Europe is going to be searching for other partners as well. So I do guess that they will be interested to see if South Korea is going back towards more towards US, or if they're trying to reach out to China, if Europe can, in a way, try to find investment, a way to exchange as well. So we we'll see that. And last thing would be, I would say, the stability of the country, because European tourists are coming quite a lot to South Korea now. There was also investments going on. So I would say that's probably what Europe will kind of see, but I'm not sure it will be discussed that much during the campaign, because as it is a very short campaign, I would say this is the kind of subject that might be left to the background and seen afterwards in the sense of the one who will be winning the election.
You're right, with the election coming up on the 3rd of June, of course, it's not a lot of time. Chien-Hao, as you mentioned earlier, quite a number of pundits here claim the most urgent task for the new tenant of South Korea's top office is, of course, America's tariff policy. Now, South Korea has been seeking negotiation over retaliation. Do tell us a bit more about this particular stance. And also, how are other countries like Taiwan, which has been slapped with, I believe, a 34% tariff as compared to Korea's 25% tariff. It is higher than South Korea's.
Yes, so after President Trump announced that the imposition of the reciprocal tariffs on many countries, indeed, triggered deep concerns. Like South Korea was expected to face like 25% reciprocal tariff, and meanwhile a higher number, 34 for Taiwan, as I just mentioned. And acting President Han Duck-soo has directly have phone calls with President Trump several days ago, trying to discuss about it. And President Trump revealed that South Korea and Japan, since they are the allies of the United States, so these two countries will be regarded as the priority partners for launching trade negotiations. And meanwhile, in Taiwan, our government officials have also been in contact with the United States, trying to figure out and reach a mutually beneficial agreement. And Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te just mentioned this morning that Taiwan has also become on the priority negotiating list. If the reciprocal tariffs take effect, like 25% for South Korea and another 32% for Taiwan, it will surely cause really huge economic problems for both countries. For South Korea, for example, like computer components such as like volatile memory, those kind of things, they are like key exporting items to the United States, which contributes South Korea's trade surplus. That means like South Korea earns money from that by exporting these items to the United States. And also nowadays, like South Korean home appliances like TV and refrigerator, this kind of things, and also cosmetics have also entered into the United States market. So the huge percentage of the imposition of the tariffs will likely erode their competitiveness and market share in the United States. And as well for Taiwan, we have the computer components such as like graphic cards and AI servers and telecommunication equipments, these kind of things, also exporting to the United States. And according to the estimates, if both countries' 25% and 34% tariff take effect, the economic growth rate, the GDP growth rate of both Taiwan and South Korea is very likely to be declined by 1% this year. That is really huge, really severe. Fortunately, yesterday, President Trump has changed again. His attitude changed again, making the reciprocal tariffs only imposed on China for 145%, with other countries, meanwhile, like for 10% in 90 days temporarily. So I believe that it has made both South Korea and Taiwan feel relief for a bit, but the problem is after 90 days, how will it be? We still don't know.
Right. The pause of 90 days, of course, is for the 25% tariff for South Korea and the 34% tariff for Taiwan. But the baseline 10% tariff, Chloe, it's on as we speak. Chloe, staying with tariffs, of course, it's been said that Mr. Trump may seek to tie South Korea's tariff with its defense cost sharing. Does Seoul's approach to its alliance with Washington look to become perhaps an important campaign pledge among the contenders?
I do think it might be, yeah, because if we regard the US troops in South Korea at the moment, it's currently over 28,000 soldiers, US soldiers, who are stationed in South Korea. This is a bit big deterrence against North Korea. Obviously, that's why they are stationed here. It's also a very good place for the US to be here for the Indo-Pacific region. But currently, we are on an agreement for South Korea to pay for parts, obviously taking a bit of the burden of the defense cost here. It was an agreement that was reached with the Biden administration before they left, and was from next year, South Korea is going to pay $1.03 billion per year to get the troops to stay here. And at that time, Trump, when he was in campaign, was saying that he saw that it should be $10 billion, so 10 times more. So also, Donald Trump says he wants to talk with Kim Jong-un again. He has been calling North Korea a nuclear state. So there is a lot of things that will be discussed soon, that should be discussed, I would think, in the campaign. And that would be, obviously, is the US deterrence against North Korea worth that much money? Or could South Korea defend itself in another way? Is it possible or not? That's a point of discussion. Should South Korea reach a relationship with China, with North Korea? Should it stay closer to the US as it's a long-time ally? There's also the question, obviously, of the nuclear weapon for South Korea. So, I mean, this kind of discussion and this kind of unreliability from the US ally is something that might get both sides, the People Power Party and the Democratic Party, they might have to take stance, and maybe a different one than the usual ones, because Donald Trump is bringing uncertainty to the table, I would say.
You're right. Chien-Hao, as Chloe just mentioned, amid debate or questions about the reliability of the US as a security partner, there is quite a bit of talk about the possibility of South Korea developing its own nuclear weapons. Do you suppose this particular issue could also be of a greater interest to the voters here in South Korea when they are picking their next president?
Wow, because according to the polls recently shows that there are indeed growing numbers of the South Korean citizens agree that we need to directly develop the nuclear weapons, develop our own. Yeah, but the problem is the North Korean issues recent years, it doesn't really play a very big role in the presidential elections. Yeah, so even I think these issues, probably the conservatives will be more likely to show their interest and try to discuss and have debate more, but probably people they will put their priority in the challenge. They will think that the challenges now we need to deal with is for example, economic and the political situation, the conflict should be taken into consideration. So I don't think that for the issues of the nuclear weapons development will really gain the interest of the voters from the voters in the election this time.
Right. So national priorities and national issues will be of a greater priority to the voters here, of course. All right, Chien-Hao, thank you so much for your time and your thoughts today.
Thank you.
Chloe, thank you very much for your insights.
Thank you.
Right, well, that ends this week's editions of Press Perspective. Have a great weekend and be sure to join us again same time next Monday.